Happy Valley is a British crime drama television series set and filmed in Calder Valley in West Yorkshire. Starring Sarah Lancashire and Siobhan Finneran, it was written and created by Sally Wainwright, directed by Wainwright, Lyn and Tim Fywell. The first series began on BBC One on the 29th of April 2014, with the second season airing on 9th February 2016 and the third and final series on the 1st of January 2023. It won the 2015 BAFTA Award for Best Drama Series and won another BAFTA for Best Drama for the second series. Series 1 deals with Catherine Kaywood, played by Sarah Lancashire, who is a strong-willed police sergeant in Halifax, West Yorkshire, still coming to terms with the suicide of her teenage daughter Becky 8 years earlier. Kaywood is now divorced from her husband and living with her sister Claire, a recovering alcoholic and heroin addict who's helping her bring up Becky's young son, Ryan, the product of the rape. Neither Catherine's ex-husband nor adult son Daniel want anything to do with Ryan. Catherine hears that Tommy Lee Royce, played by James Norton, the man responsible for the brutal rape and impregnated Becky and drove her to suicide shortly after Ryan was born, is out of prison after serving 8 years for drug charges. Catherine soon becomes obsessed with finding Royce, unaware that he's involved in the kidnapping and Gallagher. In Season 2, 18 months after the events of the first series, Catherine is back at work and has been awarded the Queen's Police Medal for gallantry for rescuing Gallagher from Royce, who is serving a life sentence in prison. When Royce's mother is killed, Catherine finds herself implicated in a string of murders. While trying to prove her innocence, Catherine is tasked with investigating a human trafficking operation linked to the serial killings. Meanwhile, the supposed fourth victim of the serial killer, Victoria Fleming, was murdered by someone else, so the police begin to believe. Gradually, the investigation starts to lead them towards Victoria's actual killer, police detective Joe Wandsworth, whom Fleming had been blackmailing. Catherine's grandson, Ryan, develops a friendship with the new teaching assistant, Miss Wheeland, who is secretly a prison groupie infatuated with Tommy Lee Royce. Royce, whom the court has forbidden from having any contact with Ryan, is using Wheeland to try and build a relationship with Ryan and get revenge on Catherine. Ryan increasingly concerns his family by asking questions about his father and even suggests Royce should be forgiven. Season 3 takes place 7 years after the events of the second series. Catherine is coming close to retirement age and has plans to go on a hiking expedition in the Himalayas. Catherine is called to investigate the discovery of human remains found near a reservoir, where she comes to realize the murder suspects share history with Royce, who has since been transferred to a cell in Sheffield and is awaiting trial for a string of unseen offences. Meanwhile, Ryan is now 16 years old and has been keeping in touch with his father after sending him a letter at the end of Series 2 and has been visiting him secretly behind Catherine's back with the help of Claire and her new partner Neil. When Catherine finds out, she temporarily blocks the contact with the three of them and presents Ryan with an ultimatum. Ryan is also having problems at school with his PE teacher Rob Hebsworth, who has kicked him out of the football team following accusations of misconduct. At home, Rob is physically abusive towards his wife, Joanna, who has developed an addiction to prescription drugs and is receiving them illegally from her pharmacist, Faisal Bhatti, who in turn is being blackmailed by a gang of violent dealers in exchange for the freedom of his family. Season 1 had an average of 8.1 million UK viewers, with Season 2 averaging 9.36 and Season 3 9.16. Some interesting trivia notes. The name Happy Valley is what local police call the Calder Valley area because of its drug problems. In the first episode of the Series 1, Ryan points out to Catherine, who is visiting her daughter Becky's grave in the next row, that visitors have left pens at Sylvia Plath's grave. Sylvia, of course, was the first famous poet. The main character of Sergeant Kaywood is mentioned in the third episode of the fifth series, Last Tango in Halifax, which aired on 9th of March 2020. The series was also created and written by Wainwright, set in Halifax, and also stars Sarah Lancashire. The show is filmed in and around Halifax in Yorkshire, and nearly all of the actors are local to the area. They speak with a distinct Yorkshire accent and use phrases like "it were" instead of "it was" and "it writ," meaning it's all right. Although actor James Norton grew up in Yorkshire, he attended a private boarding school and Cambridge University and normally speaks with a very posh accent. He first auditioned for the role of Tommy Lee Royce by submitting a video, as he was out of the country at the time. He later said he thought auditioning this way helped him get the role, as actors with posh accents are often typecast by producers who don't feel they're authentic to play criminals and thugs. He has appeared on several talk shows with hosts to shock to hear him speak, as the Yorkshire accent he has in Happy Valley is so authentic. He uses his normal accent in Grantchester that takes place near Cambridge. Now, this has always been a gritty, hard-hitting and fantastic drama series, done in an atypical British manner, which is to say that the characters are realistic, well-written, and superbly portrayed, with no thrills or fuss, nor glamour added. Sarah Lancashire really turns out a tour de force performance here as Catherine Kaywood, the cynical, hard-hitting policewoman who's really been doing the job the old-fashioned way. But what makes this show stand out from normal police procedure dramas is that now Catherine has, of course, this terrible past where her daughter committed suicide after being raped by Tommy Lee Royce. She carries this baggage around throughout the show, and of course the main thread throughout the show is the battle between Catherine and Tommy. James Norton is absolutely brilliant here as Tommy Lee Royce. James is an incredibly charming, good-looking actor, but yet he brings out this very dark, evil side of Tommy Lee Royce that the whole time you just find him so unpredictable and you never know what he's going to do next. Parts of him are quite likable at times, but that's what makes a good psychopath performance. And that the man is charming, disarming, but in the same breath, completely unpredictable, scary, and frightening. The two play off each other so well, and particularly the finale in Season 3 is one of the best scenes throughout the whole series, where the two finally face off against each other. All their previous meetings, of course, had turned out to be very violent, hard-hitting scenes. This one, though, is just the two characters talking it out, approaching the same story, but from their different sides. And Tommy finally revealing himself to be completely and utterly out of touch with reality, as most psychopaths are. I was so excited when I saw Season 3 was coming back. After 7 years away, the show had lost none of its panache. It was still as hard-hitting and riveting as ever, and the story had carried on through perfectly, as also helps, of course, when you retain all of the main cast, reprising their roles with utter perfection, as if the story had never been broken up, and these people had been living these lives realistically. One touch I've always loved is the use of the song Troubled Town by Jake Bugg. It's such a happy song that plays out in perfect contrast to the dramatic series that we have to watch before us. The main arc of the whole series, of course, is the battle between Catherine and Tommy. But what the series does do is it has little side stories. My one gripe, though, with Season 3 is the one fascinating story, of course, is about Rob Hedworth, the PE teacher, who abuses his wife, who we later find out is obtaining drugs illegally from the pharmacist Faisal Baiti. This story is very complicated and very interesting, and unfortunately it results in Joanna's murder by Faisal. I find that the show sort of just tails off quickly at the end, though. The main confrontation, of course, is about seeing Catherine take on Tommy for the first time. That's what we all want to see. But this other story is evolving quite too, and I just don't really see what the tie-in with the main story was, why they even added this. Especially when you weren't going to give it a proper conclusion at the end, as it was something I would love to have seen play out properly. In saying that, though, this takes nothing away from what's been a fantastic series. All 3 seasons were superb in their own right, with phenomenal performances here, particularly, of course, from Sarah Lancashire and James Norton. This is British drama at its best, hard-hitting, riveting, and it doesn't pull any punches. Maybe some of the side stories in the end weren't completely necessary, but the main story arc is one not to miss. Happy Valley gets a 9 out of 10.